Welcome. Hello, everyone. I see you're still funneling into class. Go ahead and find a seat anywhere that suits you. Let's see. I'll do roll call in just a second. Just first want to say welcome to everyone out there. We're going to get started right at 2 o'clock with our lesson. So if you are here early, then you are on time to receive the, we're going to go over the syllabus a little bit today and cover the, just the expectations that I have for my class, because I run Korean class a little bit differently than your other professors. So I just want you to be up to date on how things are going to work so that you don't fail, your final exam and everything. So let's see here. Who do we have? I'm going to do roll call. I would just like you to hold up your hand if you're here. You don't need to say anything. I can see you clearly. Secretive 33. Am I pronouncing that right? Secretive. Oh, there. I saw you. Okay. Yeah, I see you there in the... let's see. Anselmnida. I'm sorry. These aren't in alphabetical order. Anselmnida. I don't know what language that is. I'm sorry. Am I saying it right? Okay, I see Anselmnida. Let's see. Who else is here? Let's see who else. Let's check my roster over the roster over here. See if anyone else is on the list. Okay, only a few people I recognize here. Okay, well, you know what? I guess if you're not here, then you just miss out on this lesson. We're going to be going over the prerequisites in just a moment. I just wanted to say thank you for signing up for my class. This is a Korean 202. I don't get to teach this class very often, but when I do, it's always a treat for me. I'm, of course, honored to be your teacher for this course, and hopefully we can learn lots of useful material from this class that will help you with the rest of your Korean speaking. First, of course, before we start the class, I do have a few announcements. If you are a Patreon supporter, you get access to worksheets and outlines for this course, which can be extra helpful for you for preparing for your finals. I know you're taking the tests out there, getting prepared for those. Those should help you a lot. Also, if you are a member of this YouTube channel, you also get access to abridged versions of all of the live streams, all of the live classes that I do. You get to watch them the same night that they finish. And for everyone else, they'll go up on Wednesday or Thursday on the channel. Also, there is an active Discord for this class. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. It's open 24/7. You can access it for all of you just know, don't try sharing your homework answers on there. I'll catch you. But you can hang out with other Korean learners in there, and it'll be a great treat for you. You can check out a link to the Discord in the description box right below this video. And and let me see. We also have a classroom. We have some classroom merchandise. Let me just see if I can pull up any of that here. Let's see. Sure, I'm just gonna put this. I don't know what it is. Okay, I put something. We have some classroom merchandise if you'd like to support this classroom. Anyway, just want to say another welcome to this class, and I hope that we're gonna have a great class today. We're gonna be learning about a grammar form known as the Nika form, which you're gonna be a master of by the time we finish this. Hold on a second. You in the back. Yeah, what's so funny? Why you keep talking? Yeah, you want to move a little? You want to move a little closer here? Yeah, you. Okay. I don't want anyone to disrupt this class, so I'm just going to ask this person in back if you can sit a little bit closer. Hold on. Hold on while they're moving a little bit closer here. See if we can, just some people, I swear, just ruin it for everyone. I don't want to hear your phones ringing during class. I don't want to hear you talking to each other during class. If you can't behave in class, this is just what's going to happen. Okay, that's a lot better. And now that you're closer, you can see me. Okay, and let that serve as, this is our first day. So, don't get too upset over that. But I just want that to serve as a lesson. Make sure you're paying attention in class. If not, if you can't hear me, you can go ahead and move up front. There are a few other seats around here. Okay, we're going to be getting started in just a moment. The class officially starts. Hold on. Hold on a second. Where is that? Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. All right. That's better now that you're up close. You can see me better. And yeah, just let that serve as a lesson for everyone else. Don't talk during my class, okay? Don't check your cell phone. I don't want to hear you chit-chatting or anything. If you want to hear me better, if you're bored, you can try Korean 101. Hyunwoo is teaching Korean 101 right down the hall. I'm sure he'd love to have you. Welcome to my class, and we'll get started with the lecture right at 2 o'clock. Just wanted to say welcome to everyone here. Jordy, Professor Billy, my dad accidentally sold my homework to a charity organization, so I can't present it today. I'm sorry. Well, that's okay. Today's the first day of class, so you all get one. What do you call that? You get one do-over. So I'll let you. You can miss one homework assignment, and it won't affect your grade. So that'll be yours for this semester. It's okay. It's the first day. I understand. Just make sure not to let that happen again, or it will be an automatic fail. Okay. Can we pass? Please don't be passing notes. But you can share. Definitely, you can share your notes after class in our Discord, which you can find a link to in the description box right below. Our penguin boy, I'm literally in bed. Can I be excused from the homework? Like I said, you get one excuse. You can not do your homework for one day. You get one of those. But no more than that, or else I'll have to fail you. We don't have a lot of time in this class. There's really a lot of Korean you have to learn. But yeah, if you don't have your homework today, don't worry about it. Just make sure to do your homework for next Sunday, and it'll be okay. Lynn, my trainer is late, so I'm watching until she comes. Oh, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come to the class that you signed up for. But as you know, with everything going on, we are having classes right here. So make sure if you have any other events that you cancel them and you always attend class, because I do take attendance every day. It's very important that you are here. Noemi, can we just call you Billy? With some of my students, I am quite casual, and some of my past students we have hung out, and they did call me Billy. But for this class, I prefer you refer to me as either Professor Go, or maybe if you'd like to be a little more casual, you can also try Mr. Go. Mr. Go works too. And before we get started with the class today, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I can't keep this up the whole time. Okay. Any questions before we start today's class? First, check out the prerequisites. I'm a bad actor. First, check out the prerequisites. You want to make sure that you're familiar with the past and future tense, as well as with making commands. So telling someone to do something, like do it, and making suggestions like, shall we do something? Or maybe even, let's do something. That sort of suggestion. So commands and suggestions you want to be generally familiar with for this lesson. If you're not, you'll still learn the form we're doing today. So don't worry. But if you aren't, you won't be able to fully use the form you're learning today, because the form we're learning today, although it just means because, it often is used in sentences that have commands or making suggestions, like saying, shall we do that? Or shall I go? Or, hey, let's do something, or telling someone do something. So if you're not at least kind of familiar with those, you won't be able to understand all of the sentences that use this beginner form in it. Okay. Mr. Go, I got to use the restroom. Okay, go really quick. You have 3 minutes. Class starts in 3 minutes. So go really quick. Anyone else has to take a bathroom break? Do that right now before we start. There's not going to be any time when the class begins to do that. And then past and future tense, this is just because you want to understand past and future tense to make sentences. So I would say the Nika form is less important than knowing how to conjugate the past and future tense. If you're wondering, should I learn this? I haven't yet learned how to say I did or I will do yet. Well then no, I would say that's a priority. You want to know that before you try this form, but you're still welcome to watch. Like I said, anyone's welcome to watch any of the classes, but the prerequisites will will let you know what you should know in order to get the most out of the lesson. Okay. Precious la fleur. La fleur. The flower. What's the best way to learn pronunciation changes in Hangul? The best way to learn them is by not worrying about them. Just review them, write a few examples down so you can kind of get into your brain that they exist. And write a few examples down, take some notes, but don't stress about them. You will learn those naturally from going through doing the language, through hearing words, and you hear, oh wait, why do they pronounce that one a little differently? Then you can go back to your notes and look it up and realize, oh, that's the correct way to pronounce it, and I see why. And you'll naturally learn those anyway, so the best way is really to not stress about it. Kikat, my TA, Kikat is actually, I would say she's the dean of this school. She kind of runs things around here. But she's not in today. I think she's off sleeping or something. Maybe she's sleeping at her desk. But yeah, she's the dean of this school here. Okay. Let's see. 1 minute left. Sunseung-nim, are there any other languages you are interested in learning? I used to learn, I was really interested in Japanese, and I did Mandarin and Cantonese for a while. I did French for almost 6 years through high school and college. But lately, no. Lately, I'm just focused on Korean. That's the only language I'm studying right now. How many hours a week do you study to present? For these lessons for these live streams, I typically spend about 4 hours. I'd say average 4 hours for each live stream to prepare it. I wouldn't call it so much studying as it is like just preparation. Like it's putting together a bunch of stuff I have to make a lesson, coming up with sentences. How much do I study per week? I also study outside of that, but just for these live streams, I'd say that's an accurate number. All right. Is the cap and shirt your school unit? This is just what I'm wearing for the job. Just want to look professional. And I figured, what better way to look professional than to wear a baseball cap and a checkered shirt. So yeah. All right. So let's get started with the lesson today. Today, we're going to be learning a beginner level form for how to say because. And the way you conjugate it is very simple. The first thing you need is a verb stem. Now, a verb stem is just a verb without the ta at the end. So a verb like hada, actually, let me write this a little nicer. Forgot, I always write a little differently depending on what level the class is. Like beginner, I should write clear. For example, the verb hada, to do, ha. The verb 먹다, to eat, 먹. That's all you do. You remove the ta at the end, and you have the verb stem. Then you attach 으니까. Now, if it ends in a consonant, then you'll attach 으니까. And if the verb stem ends in a vowel, you'll simply attach 니까. So, 하다 from before ends in a vowel, so you attach 하니까. And 먹다 from before ends in a consonant, so you'll attach 먹으니까. And again, what this means is because. Because. So because someone eats, 하다, to do, because someone does. That's pretty much all there is to it. There is one more thing you should know. Now, that's all there is to conjugating it, but there are some exceptions. If the verb stem ends with this letter, then you drop it and you attach 니까. So this is an extra step you have to take if the verb stem ends with this letter. For example, a very common verb is 살다, to live. So you get the verb stem of 살다 and you're left with 살. Well, it ends in this letter, so you have to drop it. And then you attach 니까, so you get 사니까. That's all there is to it. One more exception. If your verb is a descriptive verb, so any verb that's not an action verb is a descriptive verb. So if it's not doing something, but just describing something, then you might have another exception for conjugating this form. Specifically, if it ends with this letter. Now, before I say this, if the descriptive verb stem also ends with this letter, you do the same thing. You drop it and you attach nika. That's the same. But if the descriptive verb ends with this letter, piup, this letter, you have to do two things. First of all, you drop it. You get rid of it. Then you have to attach the syllable, this whole syllable, u. And then you can finish it by attaching nika, just like before. So let me show you an example of how that works. Now this, you might think this is a rare exception. This is a very common, everyday exception you're going to do. Multiple times a day, you will do this kind of exception. So a very common example, let's just say 맵다, to be spicy. So you want to say, I can't eat the food because it is spicy. Okay, first of all, you need the verb stem. 맵. Now you're left with this. Now, note, again, this is only with descriptive verbs. So to be spicy is not an action. It's a descriptive verb. It's a descriptive verb. So descriptive verb, you remove this. Now, what do we have to do? We have to attach this syllable. 매우. Now we're done. Now we can attach nika. And this sort of rule, where you remove this letter and attach u, is not only for this form. You'll see it all the time in Korean. So pay close attention to which forms do it. 매우니까. Now we're done. Now that's all the exceptions that we need to know. Okay. Everyone doing okay so far? I'm going to check the chat for a minute. Everyone doing okay? Let me know if you're doing okay. I don't want to go too fast. Let's see, we're at 2:05. We're doing good on time. There's always an exception. Yes. And there are a few other little exceptions here and there, but these are the only main ones you need to focus on. So if you're wondering, oh, what about, I saw this one verb one time that did this. Yeah, there are other exceptions, like there are in pretty much every language, but you don't have to worry about them. So the verb, you're asking, what about the verb 사다? It's only the context. Yeah, you would never say, I am buying in America. 미국에서 사니까, because I am buying in America. Even as soon as I say that, my brain immediately feels to live. I would never think buy. But if someone was saying, how much was that? 미국에서 사니까 별로 안 비싸네. 별로 안 비싸더라고. Yeah, it would feel like buy. But it also could mean live, because I'm living in America, it wasn't that expensive. So it's only by the context. Usually, though, it'll be really clear when you mean buy. So, like, because I bought it there, I bought it at that store, or because I bought it inexpensively. You could say a bunch of different ways, but it'll always be clear by the context. And if it's not perfectly clear by the context, then it's because either one works. And it doesn't really matter. So it is not confusing. And English does the exact same thing, where the word is the same word but has a different meaning in a different context. Like you would say, fly. How do you know when the word fly means to fly through the air, or a fly a fly swatter? Or what about that person looks fly, right? Are you saying he looks like a fly? How would you know? Like, it's funny if you think of it, because no, you would never get confused if someone said, they were flying, or they were a fly, or they can fly, or, that's not going to fly. These are all things that use the same word, but you would never confuse them. It's the same in Korean. There are tons of things like that in Korean where you think, well, it's the same conjugation as this. What if I'm confused? You won't. It's not confusing. Okay. I just want to point that out so you don't feel like Korean is being extra hard. Korean's not extra hard. Korean is normal hard. English is hard. Every language has these sorts of things. Just be aware that they exist in English too, and be a little bit easier on Korean when you come across these exceptions. Don't feel like, Korean just keeps hitting me down. It's so hard. Like, no, English does the same thing. Okay, so that's all there is to conjugating it. So what is this form? Well, this form means because, but that's not all there is to it. Okay, so what's the nuance of this form? Well, it gives the reason for something. We would say because. So because. Now, this reason is usually the speaker's opinion. So this is kind of something just to keep in mind, that when you use this form, when you say something is because of something, it's expressing, with this form, it's expressing that it's your opinion. So when you use this form, it's kind of like you're just expressing your opinion. I think, or my opinion is that something is the reason for something. So I think it's because. Now, it doesn't have the meaning of think so much. You would still say think in Korean if you wanted to. It kind of has the nuance of, I think it's because. And that's important. Also, okay, actually, that's all you need to know about what it means. So then, when is it used? So then, when do you want to use this form? Well, you can use it anytime you want to say what you think is the reason for something. You can say something nika anytime you want to say that that's the reason for something. So anytime you want to say because, you can use nika. Specifically, this form is often used when making a command or a suggestion. A command would be something like, do it. A suggestion would be something like, shall we go? Shall we do that? Or even, let's do that. Let's go. So, go. Shall we go? Let's go. All those types of things you can use together with this form. I got a donation. Melissa 92. Guessing that's your birth year. Melissa. Thank you for the $10 donation. That'll go in toward our classroom. I'll buy some new chalk and erasers for this classroom. Thank you very much. Did you write a message I could read too? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Really appreciate that. If you write a message, I'll read it. I'll check again. I don't see anything right there, but if you write again soon, I will. Okay. So when I say this, I'm not saying you have to, okay? I'm not saying you have to use this form with a command or a suggestion. No. Don't think that this form must be used together with one of these. It can be. And that's important because there's another form which we'll learn later. Because there's another form, 서, which also means because, that cannot be used with these. So that's why this is important. Just keep in mind that it can, not that it has to. Also, let's see, what else do I need to... Okay. Also, so while I was saying that this form cannot be used for that, there is something that this form is used for that this one is not, that the nika form is not used for. Does anyone know? There is something that you cannot say because with this nika form. You might already know. If you've taken a lesson about this form before, you already know. But what's something you cannot say with this because form? something because of something. You cannot say with this form. Undong Park says apology. Yes, correct. Emotions. Yes, use with emotion. Right, emotions. You cannot express, well, you can, but it sounds awkward. You cannot express emotions, specific emotions, with the nika form. But you can with this form. So, what's an example of, what's my voice? What's an example of that? Happy, sad, thankful, angry. Well, you could be angry at, but you wouldn't be upset. Okay, typical emotions. If you want to have a cheat sheet, happy, sad, thankful. By thankful, I mean saying thank you because you helped me. So thanks for helping me. In Korean, you would not say it with the nika form. You would have to say it with the so form. So thankful for helping me. I feel thankful because you helped me. Thanks for helping me. I'm sad because I failed. Those sorts of emotions are not used with this nika form. So keep that in mind. So if you're not trying to say, I feel a certain way because of something, use this form. It's totally good. So it can be used with commands and suggestions. You don't have to. So don't write this down as you have to, again. And one more thing about this form before we start going over examples. Okay, yeah. Actually, a couple more things. This form has a spoken, a colloquial feel to it. It does not have a formal feel to it. Therefore, it is informal. So, if you are giving a big speech and you want to sound formal, you want to sound a little more fancy, don't use this form for saying because. Instead, there's another form you can use which does have more of a formal feel to it, and that is the 때문 form. And there are multiple versions of this. You can have like 때문에, 때문이다, those types of things. The 때문 form is a different form you can learn about. This one has more of a formal feel to it. So I would recommend this one if you want to sound fancy. Now, it doesn't mean it's always fancy. There are other uses for this one too. But if you're using this to say because, because someone did something, this one is more straightforward and sounds a little more fancy. Okay. So just keep that in mind. This is not rude. This is not impolite. It is simply informal. By informal, I mean just it's not formal. That's all I mean. Okay, a few other things we need to cover. Let me check the chat. Let me just check the chat for a second. Undong Park can be used to blame, but if you're talking about blame, that's actually 탓. 탓에. 탓에 is another form that means because for blaming. You can also say 때문에 if you say a person, 때문에, it's your fault. That's like saying it's your fault because of that person. But the form itself, when used with verbs, is just because. It doesn't have any sort of blame feeling when it's used to mean because of. It only has a blame feeling when it's used directly after a person. Like 철수 때문이야, it's because of 철수. That sounds like you're blaming him. But 철수가 뭐 했기 때문이에요. It's because 철수 did this. It doesn't have a blame feeling to it there. There's a song called 남자 때문에. Yeah, like guy's fault or something like that. Because of a guy. Something like that. Okay, a couple other things we have to talk about. These are just things that I want you to be aware of, but they're not necessarily rules. You can also use the past tense with this form. So you can use the past tense stem, and it's okay. So instead of 하다 becoming 하니까, well, you can also use the past tense stem, and you can say 했으니까, because someone did. Perfectly acceptable. I'm just letting you know it's okay. Or you can use the future tense. Now, there is something you do need to write down. For the future tense stem, you're not going to use the keta form. Another donation. Who's that? Diodre Mik Price. I cannot pronounce Mik Price in there. But Diodre. Thank you, Diodre. How do I spell that? D-E-I-R. Diodre. Thank you so much. Let me give you 10 dabs for your $10 donation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, back to the lesson. So, if you use the future tense, do not attach this ending. For example, normally hada in the future tense, you could have like 하겠습니다 or 하겠어요, depending how you're using it. 하겠습니다, for example, you're not going to say 하겠으니까. Now, to be fair, it makes perfect sense. They will all know what you're saying, but it sounds awkward. If you want to use the future tense, which you can, only use the 거시다 form. So, what does that look like? Well, for example, 할 거야. 내가 할 거야. I'm gonna do it. I will do it. 할 것입니다. 할 것이다. Any sort of 것이다 form is acceptable. 할 거야. So you get the 것. You get up to here, and then you can attach 니까. Why? Because actually what you're doing is you're simply attaching 니까 onto this 이다, to be, this verb, at the end of the 거시다 future tense. So normally when you make the future tense like this, you're actually saying something 이다. It is a thing that will do something. Literally, you don't need to really know that. So if you conjugate this, 이다, you get 이니까. So when you use this form though, it often becomes just call like that. So you can simply remember 거니까, and you're... What was that? And you're good. You don't have to remember this form. You can simply remember 거니까 as the future tense because ending. And you're good. Okay. Alternatively, let's see, do I have space? Yes, I do. Alternatively, you can also use the 테니까 ending. If you're wondering what this form is, I have a lesson and I have a live stream about it. I got another donation. I have a live stream about this on my channel, so you can watch that for an explanation. That's also extremely common and in general has the same meaning. Carrie, on the $10 train. Is there a $10 train going right now? 10불 기차로 가요. I'm taking the $10 train. Carrie, thank you. Let me give you 10 dabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, those are a workout. Thank you, Carrie. Nerail Saraluk asked, is this live? And then you deleted it. So I guess you figured it out. Yes, it is live. Okay. So both of these forms, 거니까 and 테니까, have very similar meanings. And both of these forms can be used for the future tense 니까 ending. Either one. 할 거니까, 할 테니까. Now, 테니까 does have there's something else you need to know about it, and I have a lesson all about it. But in general, you can use either one. Have fun. Maybe you're feeling like it's a 테니까 day. Okay, then use 테니까. Or I feel more like a 거니까 day today. Okay, then use 거니까. Both of them are okay. Just be aware that's how you conjugate it to the future. Again, do not use the 겠다 ending to make this into the future tense. 하겠으니까, 먹겠으니까. Like, I totally understand it and it makes sense. Just something, it just like rubs me the wrong way. Hey, glass artist. Glass artist. Wow. Are you a glass artist? You're probably it's probably legitimately what you do if you make your username glass artist. Like if I made my username Korean teacher, there's no question what I do for my job. Hold on, let me write glass art. $20. Thank you so much. I guess there are some 20s riding on that $10 train. I'm going to give a glass artist 20 dabs for his or her or their, I don't know, $20 donation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You can do this. You can do this. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Whew. Ooh. Yes, I am a glass artist. I knew it. I knew it. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's catch my breath for a second. Okay. Whew. And the reason this is important, why am I saying that you can use this form in the past tense and the future tense? Well, because there's another form, 서, which also means because, which cannot or should not. This one should only be used in the regular present tense. And you can watch other lessons on my channel to learn about that. We'll probably go into more detail in next live stream about this. This form cannot. That's why it's important to know that that the nika form can. And the last thing that you should know about the nika form is that nika is actually not the full form. You might also see this form used at the end of a sentence, in which case you can optionally attach 요 to finish the sentence. If you don't want to be polite, you can simply end the sentence with nika, period. So you can end the sentence by saying, it's because something. Something something nika, 요. Or just something something nika. Or just this, something nika. So if I wanted to say, it's because I'm hungry. It's because I'm hungry. There's a full sentence. This is not a fragment. This is a full sentence. 배고프니까. It's because I'm hungry. If I want to be more polite, 배고프니까요. That's it. 배고프니까요. That's all you have to do. You can use this to end a sentence, and it means it is because. Or you can just use it like this in the middle of a sentence to say something something because something. That's all there is. How do you feel? Do you feel like you understand? If you don't want to be polite, yeah. It does kind of sound, yeah, 바보니까. That's right. I guess I should add that as a note. If you're doing, one more thing, if you're using the verb 이다, to be, well, this one, the 이다 is only added if you're attaching it to something that ends in a consonant. So if you're using this form with the nika form, you're going to get this. 이니까. 미국 사람이니까. Because I am an American. That's because 사람 ends with a consonant. This 미음 right here. So 사람이니까. So 사람이니까. But if you're using something that doesn't end in a consonant, for example, you have 바보. Well, you can do pretty much anything. Anything that doesn't end. So you could say because it's a school. 학교. 학교 doesn't end in a consonant. So you would just attach 니까. But this isn't so much a lesson related with Nika. This is more just about ida because it's a verb that does this normally. It'll normally remove this anytime it's after a vowel. So just keep that in mind. You might see nika like this, in which case this is actually inika because it is. So because it is a school, because I am a person, an American person like that. 사람이니까, 미국 사람이니까, 학교니까. So just keep that in mind. You might see it used that way. Actually, I'll add that to the outline. So you'll see that on the outline if you download it after this lesson's over. All right. That is all you need to know about how to use this form and what it means. So let's do some examples. 이건 쉬우니까 혼자 해보세요. 이것은. This is the same as 이것은. So this, 쉬우니까. Well, you can see it has the 우니까, so you can assume this was a verb that ended with this letter, 피업. So this is actually the verb 쉽다, which means to be easy. 쉬우니까. So because this is easy, because of that, 혼자, alone, by yourself, 해보세요. Try it by yourself. This is easy. So try it by yourself. Now, literally, try it by yourself because it is easy. But a more natural way to translate this sometimes is going to just be so. This is easy, so try it by yourself. 이건 쉬우니까 혼자 해보세요. 이건 쉬우니까 혼자 해보세요. Okay, let's do our next sentence. That was just a quick one. Okay, let's see. Can I do this? Okay. I'm going to write a sentence and I want you to fill in the blank. 지금은, so right now, something, 이따가, so a little bit later today. 이따가 is not later as in another day. It's later, maybe after an hour, maybe after 20 minutes. It probably wouldn't be 20 minutes. But anyway, after a few hours or sometimes the same day. 가자. So let's go after a while because right now, how would you fill in this blank right here? What would you put in here? Take a minute. See what you can do. Okay. I'll let you know that 바쁘니까 is not what I have written down. But that's a fair answer. 지금은 바쁘니까 이따가 가자. Perfect. So now for everyone else, try to write something else besides 바쁘니까. 바쁘니까 from 바쁘다, to be busy. So because I'm busy right now, let's go later. 회의에 있으니까 I'm at the meeting. 지금은 제가 회의에 있으니까. I guess if you were adding 제가, I think it would be a little better, but yeah. Zomi had 먹으니까. Let me tell you something about that. Now, grammatically, you're good because I'm eating now. However, 먹다 by itself does not mean you're eating lunch or you're eating a meal. It means I'm eating in general. I'm eating something. Usually this thing will be specified, like both people will know what it is that you're talking about. For an easy way to make this more natural is not to use 먹다 by itself. Always use 먹다 with an object, unless that object is already understood by both people or everyone in the conversation. So if you just say 먹으니까, like they'll think, what are you eating? Every time they'll be like, what are you eating? I know in English we don't need that. We assume eating is eating something, but in Korean it's not. Always use it with an object. unless it's very clear, unless both people are aware what it is. So a common way that people fix that is they attach 밥, which is a meal, or you could say 밥을 먹으니까, 지금은 밥 먹으니까, or 먹고 있으니까, because I am eating, 지금 밥 먹고 있으니까 이따가 가자 is okay. Or 점심, lunch, 저녁, dinner, 아침, breakfast, like that. You could add in what it is you're eating, but without what it is you're eating, just using 먹다 is vague. Like if your friends are saying, "Oh, what should we 아침 먹자?" 밥 먹자. Okay. 먹자 is let's eat, but then you have to have food in front of you. There has to be something that people know what it is that you're going to eat. So it sounds vague without an object. I'll say that. If you don't know what the object is, it sounds vague without it. So I recommend always adding in an object unless you're sure that it won't be vague, in which case it's fine not to use it. Like if you're sitting at a big meal and there's tons of food right in front of you, you can say, 먹자, let's eat. And you don't have to add an object because everyone sees this is what you're talking about. But if you're sitting at a table and you're like, 먹자, they're going to be like, they're first going to look around. Is there food here? Do you have something? What, do you have some food you're going to share with us? It's kind of a bit confusing. Okay, now let's see what else everyone wrote. Someone at 비가 F3ROX35, you have 오다 conjugated incorrectly. It's just the verb stem, not conjugated verb. And the verb stem for rain is 오다, not 와다. 날씨가 좋으니까. Okay, I guess if you're talking about like, let's leave because the weather's so nice, I don't want to go yet. I guess so. TC effect, 더우니까, I like it. You're using the 피업 conjugation. 비가 오니까, 운동park has 먹어. The 중이다's form is not used in that way. I actually have a live stream all about how to use it, but it is with the action verb conjugated into an adjective form. So that would be 먹는 or 먹고 있는, like that. 피곤하니까, 졸리니까, those are all very good. 아침, I think you mean 아침, or you could do 아점, but I don't think you meant 아점. 아침 식사니까, because it's breakfast right now. Okay. 김치 요리 하고 있으니까. If you say 요리니까, that's literally because it is kimchi. But you don't want to say because it is, because I'm cooking it or I'm making it. 만들고 있으니까. You could say that, or 만드니까 if you want to say I'm making kimchi now. 배가 고프지 않으니까. You could say, I mean, grammatically you can say that. I didn't think about, I guess I'm not hungry right now, so let's go later. That works. Okay. 먹으러 가자. 이따가 먹으러 가자. Sure, yeah. 길이 미끄러우니까, because the streets are slippery. Yeah, if it's raining. Okay, let's do one of the answers. Now, there are many things you could say here. 지금은 이따가 가자. 지금은 비가 오니까. 비가 오다, literally the rain, 비 오다, comes. So because the rain comes now, because it's raining now, 지금은 비가 오니까 이따가 가자. 이따가 가자. 지금은 비가 오니까 이따가 가자. So because it is raining now, 이따가 가자. Let's go later. So let's go later because it's raining now. Or it's raining now, so let's go later. That also works. Again, you can translate it as so or because, whatever fits. Usually, if you're translating from back to front, because will be better. And when you're translating from front to back, so will sound better. So it's raining now, so let's go later. Or let's go later because it's raining now. Or because it's raining now, let's go later. You could do that too. Just keep in mind how you're translating it and use either so or because. Okay. 지금은 비가 오니까 이따가 가자. So because it's raining right now, let's go later. Good job. Let's do another one. Can I give another one to you? Okay. Let me write this a little bit nicer for you, even though that's correct. There you go. Something, something. 점심부터 먹자. 점심 is lunch. 부터 means from. 먹자, let's eat. So literally, let's eat from lunch. Or let's eat lunch first. So why something, something, because what? Let's eat lunch first. What could you put in here? Now this one I can't think of too many things you can put in here. There are probably a couple. So let's see what you got. What would you put in here? Why? What's your reason? And be very careful to how you conjugate 니까. Remember, verb stem plus 으니까. That's it. You are not conjugating the verb. It's simply the stem, as in the plain dictionary form you find with the 다 chopped off. 배고프니까. Okay, it's very good. 낮잠 잤으니까. Those wouldn't really be related. I took a nap, so let's first eat lunch. I mean, grammatically you could do it, but I can't think of a situation where that would make sense. If you can think of a situation where that would make sense, by all means, use it. Nothing wrong with it grammatically. I just can't think of how it would logically work. 곧 가야 되니까. 우야run. It is the verb stem, not a conjugated verb that it attaches to. So the spelling of 되니까, it would be incorrect because of that. Chloe Lee, 숙제가 하니까, it wouldn't be 숙제가 하다 because the homework, you have the subject marker there, meaning the homework is the one that is doing it. So that would be like saying, later the homework does it. So that's not what you mean. You 숙제를 하니까, 숙제가 있으니까. You could say 있다, 있으니까, because there is homework. 숙제가 있으니까. But 숙제가 하니까 wouldn't be correct, since that would mean the homework is the subject of the verb, to do. So the homework is doing it. 나중에 일해야 되니까, because I have to work later. 점심부터 먹자. Okay, I can't think of a situation where you would say that kind of sentence, but there's nothing wrong with it grammatically. Just kind of keep. Oh, sorry. I thought you wrote 낮잠. 늦잠, yeah, 늦잠 would be late sleep, so sleeping late. 늦잠 and 낮잠. 회의가 3시에 있으니까. Okay. Or 3시에 회의가 있으니까 점심부터 먹자. Like that. I should have used 난 with yeah, you would use 난 with 먹자, not 저는, because 먹자 is informal. It's casual. And 저는 would be formal. Well, kind of be like humble. So yeah, it'd be very polite, I would say. And 난 would be casual to match with 먹자. So yes. Okay. Someone wrote 공부할 거니까. Okay. That works too. All right. So, what would I put here? What would Billy put in this sentence? Well, someone actually got this exact same thing. Someone guessed it right away. I didn't check who did it, but someone guessed it like right in the beginning. B-hyung got it. 배가 고프니까 점심부터 먹자. 배가 고프다, to be hungry. So because I'm hungry, 점심, lunch, 부터, from. So let's eat from lunch. This is how you would say, if you say let's do something from something, what it actually means is let's start with something. Let's do this first. So let's first eat lunch because I'm hungry. So let's eat lunch first. 배가 고프니까 점심부터 먹자. 배가 고프니까 점심부터 I actually wrote my sentence down wrong. It should be 먹을까, but whatever. But that works too. 먹자. 배가 고프니까 점심부터 먹자. You can also say the same thing 배가 고프니까 because I'm hungry. 점심부터 먹을까? Shall we eat from lunch? So shall we first eat lunch? Because I'm hungry. So should we eat lunch first? 배가 고프니까 점심부터 먹을까? That works too. So I'm hungry. Should we eat lunch first because we're hungry or because I'm hungry? 배가 고프니까 점심부터 먹을까? Okay. Doing really good. Let's see. What would you put in here? Now this one you can be less creative. There's like one thing you can put in here. But what would it be? What would I put in here that ends with 니까? Okay, let me write the sentence here. So we got 청소는 이미 다 설거지를 해주세요. So please do the 설거지, the dishes. Because 청소, the cleaning, 이미, already, 다, all, completely. What would I put in here? You have like one choice, unless you can surprise me and think of something else you can put in there. I can only think of one thing you can put in here. 청소는 이미 다 설거지를 해주세요. So please do the dishes because the cleaning is already all yeah. Many people already got it. Good, good. Oh, 회원음. You have a nice alternative. 이미 다 끝났으니까. Yeah, you could do that. You could do something like that. 청소했으니까 먹으니까 because I ate all of the cleaning. I eat all of the cleaning? No, that would not fit. 했으니까. Yeah, you could also go with like 끝냈으니까, but you don't typically say you finished the cleaning in Korean. You say 다 하다 to say you finished. You don't say 끝내다 for a lot of things. 다 하다 is much more common than 끝내다, especially with general nouns. Some things you do 끝내다 would be like a job, or you can finish your homework with 끝내다. Those are okay. But things like cleaning, other sorts of actions are not, you don't use 끝내다. 끝내다 sounds like you're finishing a task. Not that you're finishing a doing something, a general noun. So you would say, so there's really only one thing you can put here. That would be really natural. 청소는, so the cleaning, 이미, already, 다, all, completely, 했으니까. So because I've already finished all of the cleaning, 설거지를 해주세요. So please do the dishes because I've already finished doing the cleaning. So I did all the cleaning, so you do the dishes. Please, 해주세요. 청소는 이미 다 했으니까 설거지를 해주세요. I already finished cleaning, so please do the dishes. 청소는 이미 다 했으니까 설거지를 해주세요. 청소는 이미 완료했으니까 it sounds formal. I have already completed the cleaning versus I finished doing it. In English, we could say I completed the cleaning, but we don't. You could, but it sounds like a announcement. 청소는 완료되었습니다. The cleaning is now complete, like a robot would say, or like artificial intelligence would say. So you could say it. You could use 완료 in either 했습니다 or 했으니까 or 완료되었으니까, something like that. But you wouldn't. 하다, 다 하다 is the most common way to say you finished doing something. And that's just an issue of nuance. It feels awkward to speak over formally unless you're in that sort of, unless you have a need to it, to do that. For example, like if you saw Squid Game, they say the person's name followed by 탈락, eliminated. Like, would you say I was eliminated in the last round when you were talking with your friends about Squid Game? Oh wait, no, you wouldn't because you'd be dead. Let's say you didn't die, let's say Squid Game, but people live. Then you could say, oh yeah, I dropped out or I lost in the fourth round or whatever. You wouldn't say, oh, I was eliminated while trying to make a full completion of the course. Like, you don't speak like that normally, but you could write it like as a journal. So it depends like what you're doing, what the situation you're in is, as to how you're going to speak, what sort of fancy words you want to use or not. And 완료 is an example of that. It sounds more like an announcement, like it has been completed, or now it will be complete. Once you've added on this sauce, then your pizza will be finally complete. But that's not how you would normally talk with just your friends. So it's just some distinction to make. Okay, let me write this whole sentence up first. Okay, actually, yeah, I kind of like what we're doing. I kind of like this. So I want you to finish this sentence. I think you can do this one. Okay, 요즘엔, N is just 애는. 요즘엔 밤, nighttime, 밤에도, so also at nighttime lately, because something even at night lately, 잠을 잘 못 자요. I can't really sleep well. 잠을 자다 is to sleep, 잘, well, 못, cannot. So I cannot sleep well at nighttime too, at nighttime lately, because even at nighttime it is also, what would you say? Okay, 시끄러우니까, 생각이 많으니까, 커피를 마시니까. I don't think you should. Okay, that's a really good sentence. You're being much more creative than I expected. Some already funny 악몽을 꾸니까. Okay, you could say anything, but keep in mind, if I just wrote 요즘엔 something, 잠을 잘 못 자요, you could do anything. I'm having nightmares, I'm working, but keep in mind, I also added this, 밤에도, so also at nighttime. So you wouldn't say I'm also having nightmares at nighttime. It sounds awkward. If I didn't say 밤에도, then you could say because I'm having nightmares. 악몽을 꾸니까. 계속 악몽을 자꾸 악몽을 꾸니까, because I keep having nightmares. That would make sense. But because I have 밤에도, so even at nighttime, it sounds weird to say I'm having nightmares even at night, because that's the only time you would have nightmares is at night, or when you're already sleeping. So it wouldn't fit. So keep in mind not just that you can put something in there, not just if it's grammatically correct, but would that sound okay? Would it logically flow? What would you put in here? A few other answers I've already seen that are pretty funny though. 간식을 많이 먹었으니까. You wouldn't say because I ate snacks a lot at night, because you are. It's saying 요즘. So nowadays, you can say 간식을 많이 먹으니까, because I eat lots of snacks nowadays, even at night, I can't sleep well. That would be fine. But since this sentence is in the present tense, you wouldn't conjugate here in the past tense. Well, at least not with that sentence. 넷플릭스를 보니까, yeah. And I'll tell you, Sophia, a common thing that people say is not even, like you can say 넷플릭스, but it's also really common just to say 넷플. So 넷플, just the first two syllables, is a common abbreviation for Netflix. 넷플. 여친한테 not 전화, 전화. So with the different letter for the first part. 전화 받으니까 한꺼번에 짖은 dogs keep barking. 고민 많이 있으니까. Okay. 시끄러우니까. 그 사람에 대해 많은 생각나니까. 생각하니까. 일을 해야 되니까. 밤에도 일을 해야 되니까 잠을 잘 못 자요. Very good. Yeah. 고양이가 우니까. Okay, because the cat's crying. Maybe you have a pet cat. So you'd say 요즘엔 밤에도 고양이가 자꾸 우니까 잠을 잘 못 자요. Okay. There are lots of things you can put in here. So what would I put in here? What did I put in here? Mine's really, really basic. But I don't think anyone else had this. 요즘엔 밤에도 더우니까 잠을 잘 못 자요. 요즘엔, so lately, 요즘에는, recently, nowadays, 밤에도, so even at nighttime, even in the evening, 덥다, to be hot, 더우니까, so because it's hot, even at nighttime lately, 잠을 잘 못 자요. I can't really sleep well because it's so hot, even at night lately. If you visit Korea during the summer, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is humid. It's terrible in the summer. If you're going to Korea and you're not used to like East Coast heat and East Coast humidity, or like, you know, Florida, New York, all those areas, it gets really hot and humid there too. If you're not used to that, avoid Korea in July and August especially, but July, August, September, I would say, is when you want to avoid being in Korea. It's just kind of miserable if you're not used to that type of weather. And I'm from California, where it's like, you know, we have perfect weather every day. And I am not very happy in the summertime in Korea because it is humid and it's still like, it doesn't even cool down that much. It might be like 70 degrees at nighttime, you know, like 2 a.m. and it's still 70 degrees. So you're just like, it's like, you're not even feeling cool. And yeah, anyway. So, 요즘엔 밤에도 더우니까 잠을 잘 못 자요. I can't sleep well because it's hot even at night lately. Well, let's see. Lately, let's add that. Okay. Everyone's doing really good. Let's do our next sentence. Now let's do something else. 한국어. Let's do that. 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아. Okay, let's do this. Okay, what would you put in this sentence? 저는 한국어를 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. So, I think 한국어를 Korean language 빨리, quickly, 배우다 to learn, 배울 수 있다. I can learn Korean quickly. 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. I think I'll be able to learn Korean quickly because of what? I think I'm going to be able to learn Korean quickly. What would you put in here? 저는 니까 한국어를 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. What would you put in here? Zomi, still waiting for the day for the US to change to the metric system. Aren't we all? Natalie Leskin, 73 in SoCal now. Yeah, it's see, what is weather right now? Right now it is 69. 70, 71? I guess it depends on time. Yeah, it's like go to the beach weather here. But also like, yeah, everything's expensive, so Okay, I'm reading your sentences. They're coming in really quick. I'm just reading them really quick. Some really good ones. A few mistakes I might highlight if I have time. 빌리 비디오를 보니까. Okay. Nice way to butter up the teacher. I will accept that. Felicia has 한국에 사니까. Okay. 친구를 맨날 만나니까. Okay. 똑똑하니까. Okay. Although if you're saying because I'm smart, you'd usually say 제가 똑똑하니까, not 저는, but usually 저는 because of something you're doing. 친구들이 있으니까 한국어를 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. Okay, very nice. 한국 친구가 있으니까, very nice. 매일 공부하니까, okay. Natalie, you said you're in the valley, okay. I don't want to say where I am, but I'm in the LA. I'm in the LA city. I'm in LA somewhere. 똑똑하니까. It's not 똑똑하니까. 똑똑하다 would be the verb. 책을 많이 읽으니까. Very nice. 저는 매일 공부해요. Okay, I study every single day. 한국인 친구가 있으니까. 빌리니까. Because I am Billy. Okay. All right. Oh, you probably say 제가 빌리니까, 제가 고빌리니까 한국어를 잘 가르칠 수 있을 것 같아요. I think I'll be able to teach Korean well because I am Go Billy. You could do that. Okay, let's go over what I have. Very good. I can see everyone. A lot of people were making. I said everyone, but I'm like, nah, probably not everyone. Most people in the chat were making their own sentences. So that was great. And they're all very different. I like the variety of what you were writing. It wasn't all the same thing. Mine's more boring. I don't even have enough room here. 저는 I 한국에서 in Korea 사니까. So this is 살다, to live. So because I live in Korea, 한국어, Korean, 빨리, quickly, 배우다, to learn, 배울 수 있다. I can learn, 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. I think I'll be able to learn Korean quickly because I am living in Korea. Because I live in Korea. 저는 한국에서 사니까 because I live in Korea, 한국어를 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. I think I'll be able to learn Korean quickly because I live in Korea. You could have also written 살고 있으니까 because I am living in Korea, but it's not really necessary. I live in Korea works fine too. Because I live in Korea, I think I can learn Korean quickly. 저는 한국에서 사니까 한국어를 빨리 배울 수 있을 것 같아요. So I think I can learn Korean quickly. I will be able to learn Korean. So I think I'll be able to learn Korean quickly because I live in Korea. Okay. 2 more sentences. 저는 몰라요. 그건 제가. Okay, in order to do this sentence, you would actually have to be familiar with the past tense form of 한 것. The past tense form. If you're not familiar with this, you will not understand what this sentence is trying to say. Or I don't know, maybe you're familiar with adjectives, in which case you might still get it. Okay. Let's do a couple examples of using 니까 at the end of a sentence, because we haven't had any of those yet. 저는 몰라요. I don't know. 그건, so that thing, that, 제가 한 게. So 게 is 것이. So 것, a thing. So 제가 한 것, something that I did. 제가 한 게 아니니까요. 아니다. So it is not something that I did. I don't know. 아니니까요. Because it's not something that I did. So I didn't do that. I don't know because I don't know because it's not something that I did. I didn't do that. I don't know. 저는 몰라요. I don't know. 저는 몰라요. 그건 제가 한 게 아니니까요. So I don't know because it's not something that I did. So this is how you can end a sentence with 니까. You could also say, oh, actually, let me give this to you. This is what you can do. Great. I have something that you can do. Or reorder this sentence so that the 니까 is not at the end. Rewrite this sentence, the whole sentence, so that 니까 is in the middle of the sentence. So instead of saying, I don't know, what would you say? I don't know, because it's not something that I did. How would you organize this sentence to say, well, what would you make it say? Give it a try. Precious Lafleur. I've just ordered my first set of books. They're coming tomorrow. I'm so excited. I assume you mean Korean Made Simple. If not, that's cool too. Whatever books you're getting for learning Korean, that's great. You know, taking the first step, getting some books. Congratulations. Good luck. 그건 제가 한 게 아니니까 몰라요. Very nice, 운동park. 제가 한 게 아니니까 몰라요. Akira's just small typo. But yes. 잘 모르겠어요. Very nice. Cat S, you're trying to be fancy. You added 잘 모르겠어요. Okay. That's not what I asked, but I'll accept it. 제가 한 게 아니니까 그래서 몰라요. You don't need to add in 그래서 because 그래서 is a different form. You already have 니까, which means because. If you add in 그래서, it's like saying, hey, I didn't do it. So, hey, I don't know. It sounds like two separate sentences instead of one sentence. I'm such a perfectionist, which is why I just ordered books. I think I have Hangul down. Yeah, if you have Hangul, just for, spend a couple days just going over it and reviewing it and then move on. Like, don't get stuck in Hangul. It's not the Korean language. It's just the alphabet. 그건 한 게 아니. AM, you would want to use this as is in the middle of the sentence. You don't have to rearrange it because this already means it is not. 아니다. 아니다 plus 니까, 아니니까. Okay, so let me put that sentence together for you. You can have something like 그건 제가 한 게 아니니까 몰라요. You don't have to say 저는 again because we already know it as 제가 한 게 아니니까. Here it already is. So I didn't do that. So that's not something I did. So 몰라요. 그건 제가 한 게 아니니까 몰라요. You could also say that too. Just for fun, we tried to put it together that way. But this is just to show you it can be used at the end of a sentence and sound perfectly natural. 저는 몰라요. I don't know. 그건 제가 한 게 아니니까요. However, most of the time, when you use this 니까 form, it's going to be in the middle of a sentence. It's going to be used to say something because of something. Or you could use it at the end of a sentence as like a fragment, like, well, because of that, and not finish the sentence, and then the listener assumes what you're saying. You could use it like that too. But most of the time, you'll see it used in a sentence as part of a explanation for something, not just because of this and that. Okay, so let's do one more sentence. Last sentence, and then I still have a couple other notes, more advanced notes about this form. So if you've been waiting for a couple extra things. 제가 도와줄게요. So I will help you. 전 다 했으니까요. You can also combine this one together. You can do that on your own if you want, but it's not going to be part of this lesson. 제가 도와줄게요. So I will help you. 전, so me, 저는, 전 다 했으니까요. So because I did all of it. 다. I already finished it. I'll help you. I already finished. So I'll help you because I've already finished. 제가 도와줄게요. 전 다 했으니까요. Like, yeah, I'll help you. Oh, it's because I've already finished. I've already finished, so yeah, I'll help you. Kind of like that. 제가 도와줄게요. 전 다 했으니까요. So I'll help you. It's because I already finished, so I can help. Okay, that was our last sentence just for the regular form, but in every lesson, it won't be a real Go Billy Korean lesson until I give you, I like to really go into depth about this form, so there's a couple more things I want you to be aware of. Now, if this is your first time learning about this form, turn off your brain and just kind of enjoy. But if you've already learned this form and you want to take the next step, let me rewrite this a little bit. Let's write it down here. You might also see this form. Instead of 니까, so instead of 으니까요, you might also see 으니깐. It's the same thing, just with this letter added. 으니까요, 으니깐요. 했으니깐, 했으니까, 했으니깐. It's the same form. However, this form is more emphatic. It's stronger. So it doesn't just sound like you're saying because of something. It sounds like you're actually frustrated. Because. That's what it sounds like. Because of that. Because someone did something. It sounds like you're frustrated about something. Because of this. So because it's more emphatic and it sounds like you're frustrated, this form is not polite. It's not very rude in and of itself. It's not a polite form. So you're not going to ever use this in formal situations or when you want to talk politely to anyone. But you can use it to friends. You can use it if you're angry. And because it's not polite, which means it's not formal, you're only going to see this one in speech. You're not going to be reading this in a book or an explanation about something unless it's something that a character is speaking, unless it's something that someone is saying. So you'll only see this in speech. You're not going to see this in like essays or something like that. But it's just another variant to be aware of. So I would write this down just as a note. I don't recommend you use this even if you're angry. 내가 다 했으니까. Just give an angry tone. That's good enough. You don't need to say 내가 다 했으니까. It just, I don't know. It rubs me a little bit the wrong way. I think it can be a little bit too emphatic, but just keep in mind you might hear it. But you don't need to use it if you're angry. I'll say that. You don't need to think, wait, I'm angry, so I should use this form. No. Just use the regular form as we've learned, but be aware you might hear this from time to time. Hopefully it's not directed at you. Okay. Also, there's one more thing that this form can do. If you want to learn about this form, there's another thing that this form can also be used for, and I covered it in a live stream, September 26th, 2021. And that is, it looks the same. However, this can have a completely different meaning. Not because. There's another version of this form that has a different meaning than because. And that is realizing. This form can also carry the meaning of realizing something. Specifically, the speaker realizes something after doing an action. So after doing something, the speaker realizes. So I did something and then I realized, oh, that sort of meaning. I realized because I did this, you can think of it like because, but it's not. So I did something, and because I did this, I realized something. So this can also have the meaning of realizing something after doing something. And I'm not going to be going into detail of this form because this is a whole nother lesson. Just know that it is not the because form. So if you see unika or nika in a sentence and it does not mean because, and you just can't figure it out, what is this? It is this form, which I covered in this live stream. So watch that if you've never seen this before. It's also very useful. Now, it doesn't get used so much on its own. It gets used a lot with the, like, hey, 보니까 is a form that it gets used in often, but it also could just be as 하니까. However, there is an exception if you're using it to mean this. It does not use the past tense or future tense stem. This is only the regular verb stem for this meaning. So if you see something that's like 했으니까, past tense, or 할 거니까, future tense, you can know it's not this form automatically. This would only be 하니까. This would only be the regular verb stem usage. So 가다 would only become 가니까. You wouldn't say 갔으니까 to mean this. Or 갈 거니까, 갈 테니까. No. If you say that, it has to be because. So if you ever see this with the regular verb stem and it doesn't mean because, like 눈을 뜨니까, like after when I opened my eyes, I realized like it doesn't mean because I opened my eyes or because I went somewhere. So just keep that in mind that you might see this form. It's a different form. It doesn't mean because, but it's only used with the regular verb stem. And if you'd like to learn about it, check out my live stream. Okay. That is all of our lesson for today. And we actually finished mostly on time. I'm about 10 minutes late, but it's good enough. It's good enough for me. That is our lesson. I will now take questions for the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you don't, you're free to go to your next class. There's always a plot twist. Well, the plot twist is that there are other, and although I say there's another form, there's also another unika form that I didn't cover. Oh, there's one more thing I didn't cover. There's one more thing I didn't cover. This ga at the end is actually optional. By that I mean, it's used, but if you take it off, it has the same meaning. 했으니, 하니. It's the same meaning. So what's the difference? Adding ga to the end gives it a more spoken feeling. A little bit less fancy and a little bit less formal of a feeling. Because of that, you're going to see ga 9 out of 10 times added, maybe even more. But you might also see ni. It has the same meaning. The difference is, using ni doesn't have a spoken feeling. It has a slightly more fancy. I feel like fancy is a good way to describe it. Because I can say formal, but that doesn't really you can't really understand what does that feel like. That formal feeling it has kind of has a fancy feeling to it. So sometimes if you want to give a speech, you want to write something that sounds a little more fancy, then you would use ni instead of nika. So that's another option you have. You can also use ni in the same way. Anyway, I don't know. Someone says I was literally about to ask about that. Okay, well, yeah, there you go. You might also see it. However, if you're using ni, because it doesn't have a spoken feeling and it has a more fancy feeling, You would not use it at the end of a sentence. And you wouldn't just attach 요 to the end. 했으니요. It just sounds awkward. It's used, like there's slightly different usage for it because it comes along with that fancy feeling. So you wouldn't use it like when you're frustrated at someone, you wouldn't use it just at the end of a sentence like that. You wouldn't use it just in a fragment because it doesn't match the fancy feeling of this form. But you'll see it a lot. And I see people using it all the time when they want to add, like, you know, even a friend might say like, hey, so great. I'm so happy because I can be here. Or because you've done something. It is wonderful. Actually, that's true. If you said I'm happy because, you would have to use the other whole form. But anyway, it's such a great opportunity because you invited us here. Like something like that. You can use ni to make it sound a little bit more fancy, like you're giving a speech. But yeah, over 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it used with ga because it has a spoken feeling to it. Okay, that is all the lesson. That is our lesson for today. Okay, now feel free to ask any questions. Is there a verb like no life? Like I know life, legal. Yeah, pain is, let me check the spelling if it's 2 or 1. Hold on. I think it's 2. Yeah, it is 2. Okay. I don't know if that's a great word to teach you though. It's pretty common though. But it doesn't really mean no life. No, I'm not sure. Not that would match that exactly. I don't know. If there's a native in here, maybe they can give their opinion. If there's a native speaker watching, how would you say, I know life, League of Legends? But I mean, the word I can think of doesn't have that meaning exactly. Elizabeth says, there was a sentence about it being hot at night. I said, sometimes it's hot at night, so I can't sleep. If you said sometimes, I mean, in English, that sounds fine. I didn't know what you said in Korean, but your English sentence uses fine. Okay. Let me check. I'm going to check the chat, see if there's any other questions. Alexia, notice if you're a member, I will take your questions at a higher priority since your name shows up in green, so I can see it really easily. Sunsae-nim, in your opinion, what was the most difficult grammar to learn in your Korean learning experience? There wasn't ever like one form where I thought this is so hard. There have been concepts that were really hard. And I think the most difficult concept for me, as well as most Korean learners that I've talked with, is politeness levels. So, yeah, and I have many videos about that. I have a lot of videos about politeness levels. You can search, honorifics, and it's just a general large topic. So it's not that it takes so long to learn. It's not that it's so complicated to learn, but there are many things you have to learn, many pieces of it. And even after you learn how to do casual speech and polite speech and honorific speech and humble speech, after you learn all these things, the difficult part isn't just recalling those rules. It's then putting them together in the same sentences. So you might have a sentence where you're using casual speech to talk about your friend. You're talking with your friend about your mom or your parents and your teacher, and you're speaking politely about that person casually to your friend, and you're using humble speech up toward that person, up toward the teacher as well. But then you're conjugating the ends casually because you're talking with your friend. That sort of situation is every day. Like I might be speaking with a friend, but I still say 하시니까 좋아하시니까 about my parents because it would sound weird to say without. And then, I might say like 철수는 like just regular, but then 엄마께서는 부모께서는 선생님께서는 like that, even though I'm talking with my friend, 하셨어. So I have honorific, polite, and then with a casual ending. So that's really common. So that's what I would say is the trickiest thing. And I have a lot of videos about that. And it's really just practicing it, practicing using it. You could learn it, you could hear it, and you can understand it, but until you can actually practice it, until you can practice using it, you're not going to actually internalize how it feels. Akira says, nominalization has been a huge hurdle for me. Nominalization. Let me ease your mind and give me 10 seconds. Verb stem. Then call. You're done. That's the most common nominalization. Use it. What about verb stem plus gi? Don't use this. Only use this in grammar forms that use it. Oh, well, Billy, what about the mia? Don't learn this one. Just be aware it exists. Don't use it. You will use it wrong. Only use it when you know you're supposed to use it. So if you learn a word and the word has this form, just memorize it as a vocabulary word. Don't use this form as a grammar form yet. This one, unless you really know how, it's very tricky and it's very easily misused. So don't use it. Don't use it. Only use it for grammar forms where you're supposed to use it. Like Demune uses it. Then use it as part of the grammar form. Don't use it for regular nominalization. This one. Yes, this one. Use this when you want to say ing as a gerund, right? Nominalization. Use this one. That's it. That's nominalization in, I don't know, 20 seconds. How long was that? 30 seconds? And of course, I have lessons where I cover all of that with more examples and more details. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. The concept of nominalization, what's hard for me, LOLs, in English, it doesn't change when conjugating. Yeah, that's all there is to it. A1R9A9SHI99 says, wow. How do you develop good ears for listening to Korean? I find it easier to catch some Korean speakers than others. You develop a good ear for listening to Korean by learning more Korean yourself, as well as one thing that helps is listening to Korean at a louder volume, which is why having real conversations with people is so important, because when you're talking with someone, like, you don't realize how loud you talk, right? Like maybe you're someone who talks really quiet. Like, listen to me. Look how loud I am talking. If you are actually in the room with me, you could be like in the closet over there and still hear me just fine. If I was a television set, would you put your TV this loud? No, your neighbors would be like knocking on the wall like late at night. Like, why are you listening to the TV so loud? You turn your TV down so that you can just kind of hear it and enjoy it. But my speaking volume would reach a full movie theater. You're talking like really loud, and I'm not even a loud talker. I'm talking at a regular volume. I have friends who talk really loud compared to me that I have to tell them like, hey, could you like talk a little quieter? Like, I have to tell them that. You need to listen to TV when you're listening to stuff. You need to turn up the volume more so your ears can really hear the sounds, because it's not your native language. You're not adjusted already to listening it at a normal volume. You need that louder volume so you can discern what sounds people are making. And in order to do that, you need to turn up the volume a lot. So get a pair of Bluetooth headphones, sync them to your TV, or, turn on your laptop and turn your headphones on. Make the volume much louder so you can clearly hear what they're saying. Or better, if you're in Korea and you're talking with someone, you're going to hear Korean at this volume all the time. I think volume is something that's often overlooked in Korean practice, because you think, well, if I just listen to lots of Korean, speaking practice or something, I'm going to get better at listening. If I listen to a lot, I'll get better at listening. The problem is the regular volume that you watch things on TV is very quiet and your ears have trouble listening to it. You don't know what the sounds are that they're making. You don't know what they're saying yet. So you hear like, you're like, what did you say? I can't hear those sounds. Whereas if you turn it up, 나는 네가 내 제일 좋아. You can hear really easily what people are saying, what people are saying on the TV, watching Squid Game, like 김철수, 탈락. Like, you don't hear it. You turn it up, it's like 탈락. You hear it really loud and clear. So turn up your volume and listen to things at a higher volume, and it's less stress on your brain. Instead of trying to listen, instead of trying to focus on just comprehending, you're spending all of your energy just trying to even listen to what's being said. Now you can spend all of your energy on comprehension instead of listening, because now now I clearly hear what they're saying. I just don't understand, but I can hear it better. So that's what I'd suggest. Yeah, crank that volume up. Now, of course, don't damage your hearing. So you have to be careful if you're listening to headphones. Like, if you can adjust just the speaking volume, that would be great. And I know there are some tools out there. I don't know if there's like a browser extension. Actually, I do have one. Hold on. I do have a browser extension that does just that. It is called Audio Channel. Yeah, it's a browser extension. Chrome, it's called Audio Channel. I'm sure there are other ones. This one lets you adjust, like you get to set a compression. So it's like a compressor, and you can adjust how loud certain things are. So I make a maximum volume. That way, if there's suddenly an explosion sound or really loud sound, it doesn't go over that. And if someone suddenly screams, it doesn't hurt my ears. But I can turn up the volume really high so that my ears are comfortable, but I hear it. And I don't have to worry if there's going to suddenly be like a really loud sound that's going to hurt my ear. I know it's not going to go louder than that. So I recommend, or VLC, the media player, also has like a built-in a slider for like adjusting. You can adjust like where's the speaking volume, kind of. There's like tools for that. You can search it on the internet for tutorials. But yeah, just make sure you're trying to increase the volume without hurting your ears. Okay, next question. Someone said, how about turning up Korean music? No, I say this a lot. Korean music is the last thing you want to use for learning Korean. And I'm not trying to be a hater. But music is the least useful tool for practicing. Yeah, music is the least useful tool for practicing Korean listening. Now, it's great. It's fun. I like it. But the way people pronounce things is not correct. They pronounce things based on the rhythm, based on the music. The grammar is not correct. They are making sentences that rhyme, that match the flow. They might not make sense. They might use words that are incorrect or are less common just to make it sound better. Pronunciation, wrong pronunciation in so many Korean songs just because they want it to sound cooler. Yeah, so I don't recommend that. Listen to it in your own free time. Just don't count it as your Korean study. And you can listen to it as loud as you want for fun. Just don't think that after you've listened to, you listen to BTS's whole album and you're like, or like, you're like, oh, I had to you listen to BTS's whole album, and you're like, I did studying for 2 hours. Like, no, you didn't. You listened to Korean music for 2 hours. Now you got to do some studying. So yeah, just don't count it as your Korean study, or you'll be disappointed. Just so you know. And I have a video about that as well. Okay. 가까워지니까 더 무서워요. I'm not sure what you mean, 내가. But 더 가까워지니까 더 무서워. It's scarier the closer it gets. I'm not sure what it is you're referring to, but just saying 가까워지니까 더 무서워요. But you would probably say 무서워져요. Like it gets scarier the closer I get. But did I buy that as bait? No, I ate them all. I got the BTS cookies. I also got the caramels. I ate those. Those are in my stomach and long digested by now. Legitimately, the butter cookies were good. There are also the almond cookies. Those were okay. The caramels, okay. The butter cookies, though, those are legit. Those are good. Maybe the best butter cookies I've ever had pre-packaged before. So better than like the regular Dutch butter cookies that everyone knows. Tasty like margarine. I think that's the lyrics, right? Okay, let's see. Can we use progressive tense with 니까? Katie asks. Yes, 있으니까. So the progressive tense would be something like 하고 있어요. So you could say 하고 now you have the verb stem. 으니까. Extremely common. 지금 하고 있으니까 걱정하지 마세요. I'm doing it right now, so don't worry. Yes, you can definitely do that. Okay. I've noticed, okay, Akirez asks, I've noticed a lot of times they'll even use like English pronunciation, like diphthongs for vowels instead of 왼쪽으로. It's like 왼쪽으로. Yeah. That's very common. Sometimes they'll pronounce English wrong to make it sound how they want. The famous Twice song, Cheer Up, they say it as chat up or chot up. I think chot up, which doesn't, no one say, they could say cheer up, but they wanted to say chot up, I guess, to make it sound better. You know, Gangnam Style, he says sanae when the word is sanai, but he says sanae. And he says aramdaewo instead of aramdawo because he wants to sound like that. This just sounds cool. So yeah, if you learn K-pop, if you learn Korean from listening to K-pop music, not only will you not learn a lot of important stuff, but you'll learn a lot of wrong stuff. So that's why I don't recommend it. It's more like a fun activity when you're done with your studying. You're like, oh, now I'm going to study some Korean with K-pop for fun, but not as a Korean study. Don't consider it to be your Korean study. It's just more like, it's like if you're learning, what do you call it? What's that one song that everyone plays at Guitar Center? Bridge Over. Anyway, it's like you're doing your Korean studying, and then when in your free time, you know, you can analyze Korean K-pop songs. That's fine. But then when you finish that, don't tell yourself, oh, that was a hard 2 hours of studying. It wasn't. It was hard 2 hours of your hobby, but it's not related. It's not going to be assisting you much in your Korean learning. And the reason I say that is not to discourage you from listening to K-pop, because K-pop's great. It's to help you manage your expectations, because what I don't like seeing is someone being disappointed in their Korean study when they're not studying Korean. I don't want someone to think that, oh, I can't study Korean. Oh, it's too hard for me. It's not working, when they're not actually doing it, when they're not actually doing things that could help them. And then I feel bad. I feel like this person, no, like they could learn so much more. They're doing the wrong thing, I guess, if that's a way to put it. Like, you know, if you want to learn how to play guitar, so you buy a plastic guitar from the dollar store and you're like, man, I'm never getting good. Like, there is a wrong way to learn how to play guitar. And that's one of them is, you know, these plastic nylon strings or whatever. They're like fishing line strings at the dollar store. And you're like, it just sounds horrible. I'll never get good at this. Yeah. I mean, it's not the right way. You should get a real guitar and start. It's just like that with Koreans. K-pop's a fun hobby. You know, you could make a video, go to the dollar store and play a guitar when you've gotten really good. Cool. But you wouldn't consider that you're practicing. So that's what I just want to manage expectations. Same with just watching K-drama in general. It's not going to be studying for you if you're just casually watching a show. If you're using it as studying, you're studying, watching a variety show, writing down words. Yeah, that's studying. But just trying to manage your expectations of what things actually are going to help me and what things won't help me. A. Mitchell says, is there a difference between unika and tenika? Yes, tenika, I have a whole live stream all about tenika and tende. Tenika would be comparable with konika, future tense. So it's future tense. I will do something because I will do something, or someone will do something. So because I'll do something, the only difference is this form is just for making an assumption or like a guess about something in the future. Other than that, it's the same. So if you want to say, because I will do something, I'm going to do something, so therefore, then use this. If you want to say, hey, well, I mean, you know, I'm probably going to be doing this, so then use this one. But in the reality of how it gets used, you can really just use either, because it kind of has a similar feeling. Like if you're saying I'm going to do something, it's already kind of like an assumption, like, oh, I guess I'm going to be doing something. If you just want to emphasize that a little more, use this. But I have a whole live stream about how to use it with examples. In general, though, it's the same as the regular future tense nika form. Someone said, what about nursery rhymes? Yeah, nursery rhymes, though, are better than K-pop for studying Korean, because unlike K-pop, nursery rhymes are not going to use wrong pronunciation. They're not going to intentionally use wrong grammar. because they're just something that they're just for kids. They're for kids, to learn Korean and to kind of, sing and make them feel relaxed. So yeah, but I mean, if you want, but it's still not going to be the best resource. Same with like smoke on the water. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think. Yeah. Smoke on the water. Yeah. If you, I don't even remember what I was trying to say. Like if you learn how to play Smoke on the Water, does that mean you're going to be good at playing guitar? Like, no. So yeah. Billy, how often would you say hanja is used in Korean? It's a must in my class, but I feel like many people are saying it's barely used. Well, there's two sides to that. If you're talking about reading and writing hanja, barely used. It's used. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not used in Korean or that you don't need it. No, it's used. Very little, but it's used. But what is used all the time, every sentence, actually really like nearly every sentence, is hanja without reading and writing it. So the sound that the hanja makes and the meaning that the hanja has. For example, you could learn that the hanja, 전 means before or in front of. It's like before something. 전. Okay, you don't need to learn this. Now, you might see it. There are some cases where you might see it used, but typically you just need to know this means before. So then if I tell you 1시, so 1 o'clock, 1시 전에, you can know before 1 o'clock. Or if I say 전 여자친구, 여친, 전 여친, before girlfriend. We say ex-girlfriend, before girlfriend, 전. 오전. If you know the hanja 오 means noon. 오전. Well, you could easily remember. You'll keep it in. You won't have to forget this word. 오전, before noon, a.m. And then if you know the word 후, whatever, that one's longer. If you know 후, 오후 is after. Now you know two words you're never going to forget. So like it's used all the time. hanja is super useful. And not just these simple ones, but tons of words. So I can tell you like 락 is a hanja that means like happy. Well, then you can see the word 오락실. 락, happy room, and you can kind of remember, oh, that's what they call like an arcade, 오락실. Or 낙원. If you know the 두음 법칙 is like a rule for how to read this, it becomes 낙. 낙원 is like paradise. One is like 병원 or 학원. It's like an institute, a place for something. 정원, like a garden. 낙원, a garden of peace, an area of peace. Paradise. So it's like easy to remember these words by knowing hanja. If you don't know hanja, you literally just have to memorize every word one at a time with no connection. But now I can know, oh, that's totally that word. Like I know what that word means. And there's another word, nak. There are other hanja for that have different meanings. But then you can know, like if you see a new word, you can guess, oh, that word means that. So yeah, super useful. Reading and writing though, not so useful, up to you. 100% optional. I would say you can become completely fluent at Korean without knowing a single hanja, how to read and write, but you'll still learn them this way by their sound and meaning, regardless. Stairway to Heaven is the other one. Yeah, but I was thinking about the other one though. But yeah, both of those are good examples. 낙원 is a BTS song we will never hear live. Why is that? If someone learned Stairway to Heaven on guitar, I'd give them so much respect. Yeah, I think that's a little bit harder. That's a little bit harder. Smoke on the Water is a little bit easier. Yeah, or chopsticks, right? Chopsticks. Is playing chopsticks going to help me get better at the piano? No, I can play chopsticks. I can't play the piano. And if I practice chopsticks every day, would I now be able to play the piano better? No. But what would help? Learning the chords, learning more common, learning the, what do you call it? The different chords that I can use for like, jazz chords or learning like what do you call that? the boogie music or whatever, just like different styles of music, then you can actually play the piano and, practicing common songs that you'd want to do, not the basic, most simple thing you're not going to get anything out of it. In fact, when you play chopsticks, how do you play chopsticks? You do it like this. Is this teaching you how to play the piano? Is this how you should play the piano, like this? No. And that's what K-pop does. It gives you real Korean that's not quite in the right way that it would be in real Korean. So you're learning to play chopsticks like this is not going to help you play piano, which you play like this. Yeah, sounds like knowing Latin and Greek roots. Exactly. Latin, because English, technically, I guess English is from Latin, but no, English is more of a German language. It's more related to German. So it's like learning Latin roots within English. So you don't need to know the original. You don't really need to know a lot about it. You don't need to learn the original Latin alphabet, right? But if you do learn the root word, what it means, then you can see that word used over and over again. Like, plum or plumbo or whatever. I can't remember. Plumbing. Plumbing, like for lead. Plum, that's like PB is the symbol for lead. You can also learn, libro is book or whatever. So library is like book area. Like you can learn these types of things for English too. And you probably already know a lot of them. And Korean's the same way. Even without studying Latin, everyone knows a certain number of these roots that we don't really know. We don't really realize that they're definitely the same root. But we use them that way. You can understand something by hearing, I know that, that word, I don't know the word, what it means, but maybe I can guess because I kind of know those pieces like that. Because they forgot about it. Ignores us when we kept asking for paradise until someone called it Nagwon to remember it. He was shocked we want to hear it. The Rainbow Dragoness. Not if you play it properly. Chopsticks requires 2 hands. Fair enough. Fair enough. If you do it the correct way, you can do it with 2 hands like regular. But I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like you can already be good at Korean and use K-pop as a resource. Like, I could learn Korean from using K-pop because I already know what things in the song are wrong. I already know what words I should avoid and where they're saying things incorrectly. So for me, I can use K-pop as a regular resource, just alongside anything else. It could be a great resource for me to learn words from K-pop songs. For you, if you're a beginner, I'm guessing most people who are learning are still beginners. If you're a beginner, you wouldn't be able to do that. You would pick it up and you would learn it at face value, which can be harmful. Whereas I can see it like, this is, this part, I wouldn't want to learn it. Or, that's interesting. They're saying it wrong. I wonder why they're saying it wrong. Whereas a beginner would see that and not know that it's wrong. Or they would see a word and think, I should learn that word. So that's the difference. And whereas for chopsticks, if a beginner learns it, they learn it like this. If someone who already plays the piano learns chopsticks, they know, I can do it. I can do it like this. I can play it with 1 hand or 2 hands. And you can play it nicer to an advanced pianist, person who plays the piano. It's useful. You can play chopsticks really cool and fancy, right? But for a beginner, it's not going to be so useful. So anyway, that's I guess all I have to say about that. Any other last questions before I'll dismiss class for today? Cat S says, 곧 자야 되니까 나갈게요. 많이 가르쳐서 감사합니다, 빌리쌤. Very nice, Cat. Excellent sentence. And you used the form today. Precious Lafur says, do you teach Hanja? I have some videos where I teach it, but the thing is, like, I don't go into Hanja in detail because, like I said, I don't want to really teach it. I'm not the best. I'm not like a Hanja master. I am a Korean teacher. My Hanja knowledge is limited to within Korean, how it's used in Korean. I also don't have I don't have very nice handwriting. So if I try to write Hanja, like as you've seen, I don't remember hang. Anyway, like it just doesn't look that pretty. I don't really want to show it off. So no, I don't usually teach Hanja. I don't have any plans to teach it. Akira said, in Call Me Maybe, she says, before you came into my life, I missed you so bad. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but I think she knows that. Yeah, like, do you learn... And I've said this before. At least twice. Would you learn English by listening to Michael Jackson songs? No. Who would do that? Can you imagine if you spent all of your time learning English from Michael Jackson songs? Shimona, it's so nice to meet you. Like, can you imagine someone talking like that and thinking it's normal? No, but if you already speak English, you can listen to his songs and you're like, oh, I see, he's saying this like in this way. That's interesting. And oh, he's using this grammar that's wrong, but I see it's because he's angry. Like, you can interpret it, but as a beginner, you're not going to be saying to everyone you see on the street. They're going to think you're crazy. Like, you wouldn't be pronouncing things from K-pop songs like normal. It would just sound awkward. Yeah. I think Run BTS is perfect for practice. Yeah, Run BTS is really good. It's a variety show. You get to watch BTS, and they're using real Korean. So variety shows I recommend those the highest for any sort of Korean practice for media. More than dramas, more than movies, way more than music, variety shows. I would highly recommend finding variety shows to watch. And there is so much content out there for variety shows. Turn it on, turn up the volume. Listen closely to what they're saying. Try not to look at the subtitles because that's really going to push your brain to hear what they're saying, even if you don't understand it. I now want to see a world where everyone talks how MJ sings. Yeah. If you get maybe if you get the Infinity Gauntlet, that can be your wish. I wish that everyone speaks like Michael Jackson. Everyone's like walking down the street, like doing the moonwalk. Yeah, then you're like, how do I snap it back? Okay. Thanks everyone for coming, and I will see you again next week. Remember to do the vote. The vote will go up on my channel tomorrow where you can vote for the next lesson. I think the next lesson is going to be the solve form, the other because form we didn't do today. But you can still vote for something else if you want. If you have a suggestion for a topic you'd like me to teach, let me know. I do take suggestions, although if you're a member, then there's a 99% chance I will do your suggestion as long as it's like a grammar form that I can do. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.